Sim racing is essentially auto racing on your computer. If you join iRacing and you buy yourself a steering wheel and pedal set for your computer, you can go sim racing, and essentially you sit at your computer, see a graphic representation of what a race driver would see outside of the cockpit of his car in real time, and you press on the pedals and turn the steering wheel and you drive your car around essentially a virtual racetrack. I've been doing these racing simulations for more than a couple of decades now. The first one was a racing game for Electronic Arts called Indy 500. I decided to try as much as I could with the technology of the time to try and make something that you could kind of figure out what's it like to be a race car driver, what's it like to drive at the Indy 500. And in the mid-90s, we did essentially an old 60s era Grand Prix title, Grand Prix Legends. We continued on with Papyrus to do some NASCAR titles after Grand Prix Legends. Finally, in 2004, Papyrus's then parent company shut them down because we lost the NASCAR license. At that point, I got connected with John Henry, who's the owner of the Boston Red Sox and also a huge sim racing fan. John contacted me and said, hey, is there any way that I can help, resurrect this thing? And we started iRacing.com.
It was mostly fun for me in the beginning until I found out how realistic the car setups are. Actually, I had friends that I called to ask them that ran the same car that I was racing on iRacing, and they gave me a setup to put in the car, and it actually worked. And that's when I realized, whoa, this is like the real deal.
One of the things they did from the very start was they laser scan the racetracks. They basically set a laser scanner out on the racetrack, and it gets a big point cloud. It does a 360-degree point cloud, and they keep kind of moving that thing around the racetrack and around the whole circuit. Basically just build this whole track, right? And every bump, every change in transition, every crack in the surface, the position of every barrier or fence line or whatever is within 1/1000th of an inch due to this laser scanner. So the tracks that you're actually driving on, I think, are the most realistic thing about the sim. I mean, they're just short of perfect.
For me, at least, it's something that's the most realistic that I can get to actually being out there. And to be honest, with how limited testing is and the way budgets are, as well as you guys do it, there's nothing out there that compares to it, and it's a lot of fun at the same time.
They're constantly tweaking it, making the tire model better to make the whole thing even closer to real life, but it's impressive. It's the best simulator I've ever experienced.
Every day I get to the racetrack, somebody will come up to me and say, I've raced against you online, great to meet you, or I love iRacing, I'm part of it. And it's getting out there. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of users every week to get on there and duke it out.
It's pretty cool that you can get on your computer, connect to a race, and you're racing with other racing enthusiasts and sometimes pro drivers from all over the world.
They have a term for drivers who are ridiculously fast and have been for years. They call them aliens.
There was one guy who was consistently at the top of GPL rank, like the #1 guy, and he pretty much, if somebody pushed him out, he'd be right back there in no time, and that guy was Huttu. And at the time, he was just a a kid in Finland, as it turns out, and he played GPL, I guess, religiously, and got incredibly good at it.
But he's had the fastest lap of every race. He's sat on the pole of every race. Gregor Huttu takes the victory here at Road America to win his 8th race in a row. 8 poles, 8 wins.
A lot of people for a long period of time consider Gregor Huttu possibly one of the greatest sim racers that we know.
Everybody just called him an alien because they figured there's no way a human being could be that fast.
We've always wondered what Gregor, a guy like Gregor, could do if he were put in a real car. I think he could take all that over and transfer. I'd love to see that experiment.
Well, we've always wanted to find out what the world's fastest alien could do in a real race car. And the Skip Barber Racing School and Mazda teamed up with us to help us find out. So we are bringing Gregor Huttu over here to drive the Skip Barber car and a Pro Mazda car at Road Atlanta.
We've known about Gregor Huttu for a few years now. We've been following iRacing. Quite a lot of guys in the office participate in iRacing. We've always wondered what it'd be like to get him in a real race car. And after months and perhaps years of hard work and people thinking about it, it finally happened today.
I'm here thanks to iRacing.com, which I've been using for a few years, and I've been doing quite well there. So they decided to give me a chance to try out the real race car.
Well, Gregor Huttu makes the perfect test case because not only has he never driven a race car, but he doesn't even have a driver's license. So we'll see how this works out.
Started off with 4 cars at Thompson Speedway way back 35 years ago. Crashed every car he had the first day and decided we would change the curriculum. So over the years, we actually have evolved into the world's largest racing school. We literally cover the gamut. We are a one-stop shop for all driving education.
Gregor's one of the students in my 3-day racing school that we're doing this weekend. So first time here at Road Atlanta, first time actually in a real car for him. I know he's got a ton of time on a simulator, plenty of experience. He told me that he'd done plenty of laps in a Skip Barber car at Road Atlanta before he'd come here.
It's refreshing to be able to come from iRacing and hop in this race car and do the stellar job he's doing. The boys say he is doing an awesome job.
When you go out on a track, the very first thing you should do, pick up where each one of
This experience, I mean, it's about fun and the experience itself, and not thinking of any kind of racing career. I'm just here to have fun and see the differences between the sim and real car.
All the fundamentals are there, but you don't really get the sensation or the car feel from a simulator, and that's what he's learning here. A lot of the stuff that you can learn on the simulator applies here, but not everything. Remember that first lap, let's take it slow, let's get some temp in the brakes, let's get some temp in the tires, and then gradually move forward a little bit every lap after that, okay? Any questions? Good? Start them up.
way too heavy. You didn't grab enough brake in the braking zone, and you had too much brake for the amount of steering input you had, and it actually locked up the rears a little bit at the apex. Yeah, and next time through, you cooled it down on your own. I'm sure you'd notice it. I just wanted to point it out.
So otherwise?
Yeah, otherwise good. Okay. Otherwise good.
Well, yeah, the noise and the vibration was a bit more than I expected. The track, you know, it's pretty much identical, except maybe a couple of curbs. I wasn't going fast enough to really tell the difference between the cars, but you know, I think the real car is a bit more stable than in the sim. I wasn't doing it perfectly, but not too hard. I was a bit surprised about that.
He's quiet, but friendly.
I don't talk much. I'm pretty shy.
He's very focused, and he never lets his emotions get the best of him.
I know that he works on computers in the daytime and helps his dad with his fish catch in the evening.
He's a really humble guy, quiet, almost Kimmy-like, but he's got a sense of humor as well. On track, he's a hard and fair racer, like a lot of the other guys, but he's got a bit of an edge at the moment, and yeah, he's a great guy.
There's nothing showy about the guy. He's very straight down the line. He's not here to be a superstar. He's here because he loves cars and racing.
Here's a guy who lives 200 miles south of the Arctic Circle. He's been out of Finland one time. He'd never been on an airplane until he got on a plane to fly here to Atlanta. And he'd never sat in a race car before, a real race car. He's the best sim racer in the world. Nobody's faster on a computer.
As an example of the fidelity that we have in the simulation, I mean, Gregor's coming over, he's going to drive at Road Atlanta, which we have in the sim. And so he's had hours and hours of practice. He knows Road Atlanta, he knows what line to drive, where he needs to brake and turn.
I know the Star Mazda. It's a really fast car. So that's going to, again, be a lot different than the Skip Barber car here.